Hey guys, this is the Blue Collar Future Podcast. I'm your host, Jaden Robinson, and we've got Working with Matt on today.
Hey, how you doing? Thanks for having me on.
How's it going?
Another day in paradise.
Yeah, let's get right into it. So I found you on Instagram. You got pretty big following. I think I saw you at the World of Concrete or something.
Was
like
I
that.
in a snazzy suit?
Yeah, I think I commented big suit guy because I think I saw Matt Panella
Yeah.
share on his story or something like that. I thought that was pretty funny. You're walking around.
Yeah, Matt's a good dude. Yeah, no, it's all like an inside joke. And then I'm waiting for David, the Mexican carpenter, to upload some videos that we made. So it should all be in good fun. But I got it at a Goodwill store for like $12. And I wore it for about an hour or two and went up in the press room, changed, threw it out, and came back down in my, True Works and sweatshirt.
You know, with how many videos I saw of you, I wouldn't have expected it was only an hour you were wearing it.
Yeah,
It
it was
for content?
Yeah, just for content. I went to like the three booths. I went to Diablo, Milwaukee, Makita, up second stairs with the press room, and it was off. Actually, it's a lie. I went to Boss, and then it was off. It was basically just like a line straight to the press room.
Were you having him take or doing collaboration, or was he taking the content, or how was that going?
Both. It was, I don't want to spoil it, but hopefully you'll see it eventually.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I did. It all started because Impact Nation, what the hell's his handle? Anyways, he did a reel with like Kevin Costner getting out of a car with like, a tan suit, white shirt or whatever. And he's like, when Working with Matt shows up to World of Concrete. And I put it to my stories and did a vote, like, should I actually wear this? And it was like 98% said yes. So I'm like, all right, I'm a man of my word. So it all started from there, and then it kind of snowballed from there.
He might be listening to this when it goes live. Brandon's a good dude. Impact Nation
really,
Tools,
really good dude.
Yeah. He's really good about interacting with people on social media and commenting like on everybody's stuff all the time. I mean, I suck at that, so I always feel bad because I see he'll comment on one of my videos or something, and then I'll be like, oh crap, and then I'm like going through finding his stuff and like, yeah, that's awesome, dude. Like, I don't know,
he and then with his son. It's awesome. See, I'm the opposite though. So like, I get 50, 100 DMs a day, but like to me, like I zone out. I answer the question and then I move on to the next because obviously I have a full-time job on top of doing all this. So like when I go to these trade shows and I run into people, they're like, hey man, remember we were talking about this or whatever? And I'm just like, and then once they start like saying things, then I start remembering. But like, this is terrible to say, but like I answer your question, then I get out of it. Like, it's not like I go in and like people just assume that like I know what they look like or the videos they put up or whatever. And like, if I'm doom scrolling, I might come across it, but chances are like I literally log on, usually post my video, respond to comments, go to DMs, log off, and then that's it. But anyways, we're going on tangent.
Yeah, we'll stay on it for a second, I guess, just because you've got a big following, right? So it's I couldn't even imagine trying to answer that many questions all the time. I mean, a lot of people just take the route where they're just going to completely ignore people's questions because of that. And I totally understand it because I don't imagine you get any less than, 50 DMs or something a day or whatever if you're posting a lot. Like, it's just people just are interested. And if you're showing that interest, then it builds the community, but it's a lot of work. So
a lot of work. Yeah. So I would say, on average, like anywhere from, again, it depends on the videos that I post or what's going on in the world or who did what, like depends on the number. But usually I would say on average, I usually get around 50 to 100 DMs a day. That's just DMs. And then obviously like comments. I don't do much on like Facebook or YouTube. I occasionally kind of glance on those and see if there's anything pressing. But my main focus is on Instagram, and not to get all mushy gushy, but I'll never forget. I had 288 followers about 3 years ago or whatever. And Dan, who's a good friend of mine, Milwaukee tool addict, I DM'd him, I forget, a picture or question or something. And he responded. And at the time, I think he had over 100. Now he's at like 320, 350, something like that or more. And I was like, talking to a celebrity. Like, I'm like, oh my God, this guy took time out of his day to answer my question. Like, it was, again, it was 2, 3, 4 years ago. I don't remember what it was, but like that meant a lot to me. And I had the philosophy that like there are me's out there asking me questions. You know what I mean? So like I respond to every single DM I get. Part of it's like an OCD thing. So like obviously I have to turn notifications off for Instagram. So when I log on, like any of those red dots up top have to be 0. Like I can't have any unread messages, any unread comments, likes, whatever. So I got to clear all them out before I can go to sleep. So yeah, I respond to pretty much every comment and every DM out there. And then the other thing is I don't know if it's on whatever non-professional accounts, but if you go to, there's like a request and then there's like a hidden and then like another hidden underneath that, which most people don't. So like you have to go through like these 3 processes, but like there's 0 response or 0 DMs in any of them. Like I respond to every single one, which is a lot. My fiance would prefer I didn't respond to everybody and actually spend some time with her.
Because usually it's just a bunch of like porn bot stuff. So
Yes.
it's pretty bad. I don't know.
Yep.
So,
Well, and that's you start not to go off what you're saying, but that like the one thing that's unique about my account opposed to a bunch of my buddies, like you were just talking about Kev from Raven, like my account is me, right? Like it's just me having fun, showing tools, showing the jobs I'm on. Like I am not promoting my company at all. And specifically designed for that reason because a lot of these other guys are promoting their companies, which I think is great. Fortunately, in my situation, we don't need to advertise. We're fine just the way we are. But I've heard some horror stories of guys that, because there are a lot of crazies out there, that they will literally get like Yelp reviews, Google reviews, like threats to their business, to their building, people just showing up, like, because they obviously with the address and phone numbers and
yeah.
internet and websites and everything like that. Like someone could comment, you respond in a negative way, and they just go off on a tangent. So they'll like literally make it their life mission to try to destroy your business. So that is why specifically I do not promote my company and I don't have to worry about responding to any of those DMs.
Yeah. I was talking to Kip Bender about this, and it's like, because he was saying he just responds to all of the comments and just like kind of fights people in comments and he gets a kick out of it. And I don't really like doing that. I feel like it gets under my skin when people do negative comments. I'd rather just ignore them. But there's nothing really good that comes with it because some people are crazy. And like you said, they'll just like, if they get upset that you respond to them in a negative way, then they'll just make it their mission to tear you down somehow. So
Absolutely.
and there's very real things that they can do too, like that.
Yeah, that's why we were talking about my last name or whatever. Like, there's a lot of interesting things that go on in this world, and my family is too important to me to risk it. Like, again, if they want to come after me, let's go. But like when family and kids and nieces and nephews and everything get involved, it's a different story. But the other thing is a vast majority of these keyboard contractors that are in their mom's basement commenting on how you don't know how to do your job. But like they won't stop. So like they could say something stupid, you'd be like, you're wrong. They'll come again, and then they'll come again and come again, and they just won't. And so my easiest response is I appreciate your support, and just leave it at that. Because either one, they're going to be like, all right, this guy's not worth going after, or two, like, wait, is he being serious? Does he think I like? So I kind of play mind games with him a little bit.
Yeah. I like to do that because if I ever have my cool about me and don't get annoyed to do that, most of the time it doesn't get a response. But if it does, it's like some smart ass response. But it usually fizzles it out pretty quick. Or I'm like, okay, boss, or dang, when's my paycheck coming? I'm waiting for it, or something like that. Like something stupid just to kind of diffuse the situation. I don't have the time in my day to sit here and argue with people in comments.
Correct. Not worth your time or effort.
No, and most of the time they are so crazy about the way that they do things and thinking that they're right and just assuming that everybody else has to do it the exact same way. It blows my mind. It's crazy. I'll never understand why people just put blanket scenarios over everything and just assume they know everything. So,
well, kind of go off of that. I think a year or two ago. So I'm a member of NADRA, and they do Deck for a Soldier, and I have a military family, so it's a cause near and dear to my heart. So I volunteered to help, but there was probably 3 or 4 other deck builder companies. Like we all came together to do this one job. And it's so funny. As simple as building a deck is, like I have my way of doing things. He has his way of doing it. Like we're all going to get to the same point, but it's like, all right, guys, we just got to all put our heads together. Like, all right, what are we going to do? Like, all right, yes, you do it that way. We do it that way. We think our way is better than your way. But like, again, like you were just saying, like we all have different ways of doing it, but we all get to the same end result. But it was kind of cool. Like I've never worked for anyone. I've always worked for myself. So like, trying to like take orders from someone else. It was definitely a change of pace.
Yeah. Yeah. That's people are stubborn too. Like, especially I'm in the concrete world myself. So do flat work and people that do concrete, they get on Instagram and comment on videos. They're freaking stubborn in the way that they do things and just in what they think they know. So I mean, a lot of times, unless you're friends with people, it would be hard to work with them. Everybody's like, nope, this is the way we're doing it. This is how it's done.
Well, yeah. So the two things off of that. One is like the other thing is people don't realize that the internet is worldwide, right? So like we do things differently here in America than people do in the UK. Same regard, there's people down in Florida that do things differently than they do in Minnesota. You know what I mean? So like temperature, location, geographic have so many variables. Like, yes, what is code or required to where you live might not be what it is for me. And people can't fathom and conceive that.
Well, I mean, like just going off concrete specifically, materials are different everywhere. I mean, at very least slightly different, no matter where you are. Temperature, climate, elevation, all of that type of stuff. It's all different. So the way that you do things is going to change no matter where you are. And so I get people from, southern climates trying to tell us what to do in the north. And I'm like, well, sort of north, like we're high desert in here in Utah. So we get a lot of freeze thaw stuff. And I'm like, that doesn't work here. Okay. So I don't know what you're thinking, but stuff you do in Southern California doesn't work in Utah.
Exactly.
So anyways, we didn't talk at the very beginning about what you do specifically. So we've been on social media. What is your business specifically like? What is your main focus?
So I'll do a relatively deep dive. So basically when I was in high school, I was cutting neighbors' lawns. And then kind of when I graduated high school, I knew college was not for me. So I tried to learn as much as I could with my hands. And then, so basically we were just exclusively cutting grass. Then we started doing like mulching again, as the years progressed. And then we got into hardscaping, patios, walls, that kind of stuff. And then we got into irrigation. Now we're into like 2020, 2021. And obviously with the world circumstances, everybody was home. So we got inundated with people that wanted decks and patios and basements and whatever, roofs, just because they wanted to get away from their family, basically, and had nowhere to go, couldn't go on vacation. So that money they allocated for vacations, they gave to us. And so at that point, we kind of branched out from just landscaping to a full-on, like, outdoor living construction. During the winter months, obviously we do snow removal, but for the most part where we are located, like as of right now, I think we've got a total of 6 inches, if that, all season. So for the most part, we typically do like 1 or 2 interior jobs through the winter months. So whether right now I'm doing a sauna, but the year prior we did a kitchen, the year prior to that we did a basement. So it varies. It's just fun just to keep me off the couch and stay busy.
It's been interesting to follow. I don't think I saw when you very first started working on the sauna. What have you been following along to build that? Because aren't you building it like essentially from scratch?
Yeah, so basically, I will post like a before and after, but basically it was a screened-in porch that had a hot tub on it. So it did have a roof, but it was all screen walls and it had decking on the floor. So we did the permits that were pulled were for plumbing, electric, and the structure from the joist up. Well, when we did the demo of the deck boards, I'm telling you, like these things sag down probably 1.5 to 2 inches from that hot tub. the structure, the support, the ledger, the drop beam, everything was just like, yeah. So right
Yeah.
then and there, day one, we were like, all right, this just got way out of hand. So we basically gutted everything, and from the ground up, it's all brand new. I reached out to some of the building science guys, specifically Aaron, Big Dog Construction, and he kind of walked me through it. So we did, which is kind of unique. We framed everything upside down, installed zip, and then flipped the floor. That way, it was basically our vapor barrier protection of the insulation, and then we put a rock wool in between the joists, a Vantech on top, and then framed 2x6 walls. So yeah, basically an addition minus the roof. So it has a shower, cold plunge, and the sauna. The thought process was you go into the sauna, you sweat, you come out, you wash off sweat, oils, whatever, and then jump into the cold plunge. I've never done a sauna, never done a cold plunge. I'm not a health guy, so I don't know any of this stuff, but it's what he said he's going to do.
You never done a cold plunge?
No, well, I did like a polar bear plunge in the ocean, like,
Yeah.
yeah, but not like for medical health benefits. Just
Yeah.
drank a lot of beers and ran in with my buddies.
I did see you're at least health conscious because you posted the other day about you quit drinking energy drinks because you had a health issue or something
Yeah,
happen.
well, yeah, I need to be more healthy. Again, I don't know how long you've been following or what you see, but I have never cooked a meal in my life. My entire life, I have eaten breakfast, lunch, and dinner either at a restaurant or DoorDash or Wawa, fast food, whatever. So, like, yeah, I eat the worst meals known to man. I drink like 7 Powerades a day. I used to drink 2, 3 Monsters a day. I used to work 18 hours a day, 7 days a
Yeah.
week. So, yeah, I've put my body through hell over the last, whatever,
Yeah.
10, 20 years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's honestly typical of a lot of trades and people in the trades. I mean, it's typical of people in the US right now, but especially people in trade jobs to just kind of eat convenient stuff like that that's not good for you at all. So it's like you might have fuel for the day, but it doesn't mean it's great fuel either. So I don't know. That's part of what I've made my mission with this podcast a little bit is to be kind of showing people a little, there's a better way, you know?
Well, I agree 100%. So my issue is obviously one, convenience. Two is I don't know how to cook.
Yeah.
And number three is just time. So like I get up at whatever 4:30 in the morning. I'm out by 5 because I have an hour and a half commute every day, and then the guys usually show up at 7, so I try to get in a little earlier. It's like I'm not going to wake up at 3:30 and make breakfast, and everyone's like, "Oh, that's what Sundays are for." I'm like, I'm not meal prepping for the entire week, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because I literally eat all 3 meals. Like I have a trash can in my back seat of my truck because I eat
Yeah.
all 3 meals in my driver's seat of my truck.
Yeah.
So like it's not going to happen. So what I need to do is like, okay, maybe I can make a lunch or a breakfast and then whatever I have healthier, and then maybe get done early. Don't work till 6, 7 o'clock at night. Well, and that's in the wintertime. In summertime, springtime, we're 8, 9 o'clock, but maybe get home at like a reasonable hour and have my fiance have a nice meal waiting. You know what I mean? But
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the life, you know, it's the convenience factor and it just takes a lot of time. So, I mean, a lot of guys are working a lot of hours and I mean, I know what it's like. I was doing the same thing a lot of the time. So I understand it. You know, if I didn't have my wife cooking stuff for me, it would probably be a lot different. And so I bring my own lunch and then we always have a good dinner. I actually don't eat breakfast. So that's one thing that I've liked to do, but that's not intermittent fasting. I just don't eat breakfast. I just don't like it that much. But
there's a lot of guys that don't.
yeah,
Their
yeah,
coffee,
pretty much.
or whatever, an energy drink or yogurt or something like that. But yeah, for whatever reason, like my whole life, like I can't have a big breakfast. Like if
Yeah.
I sit down and have like pancakes or toaster or French toast or whatever, like I'm done. I'm in like a food coma. Like it's got to be like something small just to like, I don't know. That's just me. That's the way my body's been trained. I mean, realistically, now that I'm thinking of it, like I do get home and probably doom scroll for like an hour or two. So I could easily make time to do something, but
Yeah, I mean, there's always time to find, but when you're not thinking through that all the like constantly about like how you're spending your time throughout the day, it's easy to look back and be like, man, I didn't have any time today to do anything. But there's, 20 minutes there, 20 minutes here and there, and there's stuff that you could kind of put together to make some food. But no, I get it. I think everybody goes through that. And nowadays we're so like convenience based and everybody's so busy that it's it's definitely fueled the fire for this crappy food industry to just take over because it's so convenient. I mean, why wouldn't you want to just grab something and go and eat it in your truck? So I totally get it.
well, just two last things on that. So number one is I think in my mind I've already made up a point. So like when I first moved out, I literally went to the grocery store, spend whatever, and this was what 15, 18 years ago. I'd spend 150, $200 on meat and salads and this and that or whatever, and almost 80, 90% of it would go bad by the time like I actually got to it because I didn't have time to make it, or I thought like, oh, I'll make it tomorrow night, but then the job went awry and I didn't get home till late and I just went straight to bed, whatever the case may be. So in my mind, I'm like, all right, I spent $200, all of it went to waste. I still had to buy the food like that I ate that day. So I'm like, if I just eat the food and not go grocery shopping, I save $200. So it's kind of like a wash. Um, I think the other thing is so like I played sports in high school and I had to work out because like it was part of our requirement on the teams. But the second we got out, like unless I had like a workout buddy or like somebody to go to the gym, I would never go to the gym. So I think it's just like a mindset thing too. Like, so if I'm forced to do something, I will do it. But if I have the choice, I'm going to go the easier route.
That's most people. So there's not much blame you could push there other than it's just human nature to do the kind of the easier thing. I mean, yes. So it's just interesting to me because I'm like, as I'm paying more attention to kind of the lifestyle and the trades, this is exactly it, what everybody does. And, some people are fine with it, but some people it actually like absolutely destroys their bodies and end up being super overweight. And a lot of problems get translated over to affect their work. And the funny part is it actually gets blamed on the job. Like people sit here and say that the construction is breaking down your body and stuff. And a lot of it is crappy diet, not enough sleep, all that type of stuff is like wrecking your body. And how is your body supposed to handle working in construction without proper fuel and nutrition? So it's super interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I'm a prime candidate. Like I said, I mean, pretty much my whole life, I've almost worked 6, 7 days a week and like 14, 16-hour days, 18 if you include office stuff or whatever. And then, like you said, like you don't get proper sleep. You're feeling tired, so you have another monster, or you do this or do that or whatever. And it's just like you're literally beating that. And then, like you said, you're not getting nutritional food. So you're just eating whatever, Chick-fil-A or this and that or greasy, fatty foods. It's like, yeah, no wonder you're tired all the time. And then you try to supplement it and then it just gets worse. And it's just, yeah.
Yeah. It's a prevalent issue. Not gonna lie. So it's just so I'm always curious about it, right? I'm just paying attention to kind of the layout, the landscape of the lifestyle, and I started to become aware of it when I was first starting out, and fortunately, I feel like I caught it fairly early. But anyways, so I had one question about how you were starting your business. It's interesting because a lot of people start out doing lawn stuff because it's a natural progression. It's pretty easy as a younger kid to mow lawns and kind of turn that into a business. And you said that college wasn't for you. You felt like it wasn't. Was there ever any part of you that felt like you were lesser than people that didn't go because of you didn't go to college?
How much time do we have?
We have, I don't know, as much as you want, really.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a million ways to look at this. So, in where I grew up is a middle class, upper middle class area. So out of all my friends, my group of guys, everything like that, I was the only one that didn't go to college. And yeah, absolutely. Even my own mom was like, my brothers went to college, but I didn't. So I'm like, even my own mom's like, you gotta go, you gotta go, you gotta go, or whatever. I'm like, I'm not going. But yeah, it was absolutely looked down upon. I'll never forget, like, even though my buddies went off to college, I would still visit them because some of them were relatively close. And we go to like a bar and girls would come up to me and be like, oh, hey, what do you go to school for? Where do you go to school or whatever? I'm like, oh, I don't or whatever. They would literally just turn around and walk away, like instantaneously. It's like, you didn't go to college or you're not going to college. Like, see ya. I'm like, yeah, all right, bye.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's one thing that I've always noticed because I grew up in a blue collar family. My dad has done concrete his whole life, and his uncles were doing concrete. He worked for them when he was growing up. College was just like the thing you did, you know? Like my parents were pretty well off. Anytime people would come over to our house, they'd be like, you know, just in awe, I guess, of my parents' house. But anytime outside of that, I would tell people, oh yeah, my dad does concrete. They're like, really? Like no excitement at all. It's like all of a sudden it's, you know, lower class, third world person essentially because he didn't go to college and whatever. But yet they'll sit here and envy the money that he has from working hard. And so it's always been interesting that difference. You know, people look down on blue collar jobs, yet and think that you can't have a good life. But I know for a fact, majority of people that I know that are well off around here have been in these type of jobs and started their own business and ended up moving on and make really good money. And looking at their house by this, you know, thought process, you would never be like, oh, that guy does concrete. Like they all of a sudden think that, well, he must have some college degree and be some sort of fancy, like a doctor or something like that. It's super interesting.
Yeah, I did. I posted a reel maybe 2 weeks ago, and it was literally this. It hit the nail on the head. It basically said, I'll summarize it, but something along the lines of basically, people don't ask what you do for a living because they're curious. They want to know how much respect to show you. And I was like, holy crap, that is good. I was like, I never thought of that, you know? So like, if you say, hey, what do you do or whatever? It's like, oh, I'm a, or whatever, doctor. It's like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? But it's like, oh, like I cut grass. Oh, all right. See it. You know what I mean? And the funny thing is again, as you were just saying about your area and blue collar workers or whatever, a vast majority of my customers that do the biggest jobs, you would never know they have money. I give them a quote, they'll cut me a check right there. I mean, again, they've been customers for years, but like at least a deposit, you know what I mean? But then the people you pull up to with the Mercedes or Beamers or Maseratis or whatever in the driveway with the big house or whatever, and they want to do a whatever, $4 or $5 job. Well, yeah, just the direct deposits coming in. I got to transfer from my one account to my other account and this and that. And it's like, it's always with the excuses. It's like they're stealing from Peter to pay Paul, or they're maxing out this card or maxing out that card to keep up with the Joneses. And it's like, I'll never forget growing up, a guy or one of my best buddies in high school, his dad owned a company that they rented, lineman trucks. They put railroad gears on them so they could go down the train tracks and do high ride. Anyways, so he would pull up in an F-250, like not even a new one, like an old F-250, work boots and jeans. And vast majority of people didn't know that he was a multi-millionaire until the school needed money and he donated lights and donated this and donated. It was like $3 to $5 million he donated to this school. And people looked at him like, oh my God, he's got dirty jeans on, he's got boots on, but he had more money than every single one of them.
Yeah. My dad always tells me a story about how when he was going into a bank, to deposit a check or something, you know, very high dollar check, I think when he was building houses or something. And the teller at the bank wouldn't freaking let him do it. And they had to like call their manager over there or something. And they were having an issue because they didn't believe that it was his check. They believed he was trying to freaking, counterfeited or whatever because he was dirty. And I'm like, this weird idea that we have about, you know, the status based on your job occupation is like, it's just mind blowing to me. Somehow people that work in the trades are lesser than. Seriously, just because they get dirty for a job.
Yeah, the only thing I think our generation, I mean, again, it's absolutely a stigma right now that is absolutely going on. But I will say, I think our generation, the girls are starting to realize like the I don't want to say nerdy, that's not the non-handy gentlemen, right, that have no interest in tools or fixing things or working on their house or working on their cars or whatever, aren't necessarily the best option. You know what I mean? So like, I'm being serious. Like they're like, there's whatever. I'm just sitting in a room. There's blinds or there's pictures that need to be hung or whatever. And again, there's some people like my middle brother. He says his toolbox is his checkbook, and he knows that, and he'll always say that. Like he was like, I'll just hire someone to do it. But again, there's times that there's whatever. I saw what was it? The freeze down in Texas like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
That pipes were blowing and nobody knew how to shut off the water to their own house. Like they had to call a plumber, but every single plumber was getting called at 9 million other emergency calls. And
Yeah.
I'm just thinking to myself, like, it's your own house. You need to know like the basics, but a vast majority of Americans don't know where water shut off is in their crawl space or their basement, or like how to shut the electric off so they don't get electrocuted because their house is flooded. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
to us, it's second nature, but to
Yeah.
a vast majority of people, they have no idea.
Yeah. That's crazy. I mean, especially to be a homeowner and to not know a single thing about the way that your home operates. That doesn't make a ton of sense to me. I mean, and I see it a lot. I mean, there's a lot of people that it's almost like they want to not know that because almost it makes them, they have like that weird stigma in their mind about how that's lesser than, let's say, for somebody else to deal with.
Yeah, I'll pay someone to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's one way to think about it, I guess. You want to stick to what you're good at, but I feel like it's been because of this stigma that like if you know how to do these things, or if you did these things, or if you didn't go to college or something, like you can't be successful. It's like people almost want to not know how to do it as a social marker to show they're better than you. You know, but yeah, I'll just pay you. I'll just pay you to do it. I do feel like it's getting better, but I know when I went through school, I mean, trades weren't even an option. It was like, okay, what college are you going to? What are you going to college for? And if you weren't smart enough, it was like, well, you better just go do construction or just go do this and that. And I mean, it's so talked down on that. How could people want to go do it and feel like they can be successful? That's why I was curious if you felt like you were lesser than, because that's the stigma. That's what it's like, not pushed at all. And almost it's like if you don't have that piece of paper, you aren't successful. That's what a lot of people think.
Yep, absolutely. But then you look at like, again, I agree with you 100%, but like it's slowly coming around that, well, 2 points. One is that like my buddies, like you're talking about looking down upon, my buddies went to school, dropped, well, either them or their parents, whoever, dropped whatever, 60, 80, $100,000 in loans to get an education and a degree that a vast majority of them had no idea what they want to do. They just went generic, either criminal justice or business, right? That's what vast majority of people do. And then they come out and they try to look for a job, and these starting salaries are at the time, whatever, $30,000, $40,000. And it's like, that's not even enough to cover your loans, let alone trying to move out or buy a car or start a life or whatever. So then it's like, oh, well, if we buy a house, then we'll get approved for a high credit card, and then we'll use that credit card to get this or do this or whatever. And it's like, I forget what the new number is. It's like 1.7 or $2.7 trillion in credit card debt Americans are in right now. And it's like, you have the blue collar side of things where it's like, I have $0 in student loans. And I learned more in the 4 years out in the field than any of my buddies learned in the classroom. If you ask me anything I learned in the 4 years, obviously I don't remember exactly, but I'll remember it. But you ask my buddies what they learned 4 years in college, man, this one party we went to, or this one football game we went to, you know what I mean? Like they
Yeah.
have, it's pointless. And they have $100,000 loan out now where I was working for 4 years, making what they were paying. So I'm already 4 years ahead of them. And we're both at the same spot. But then, like, again, obviously I own a company, so it's different. But like, if you go work for someone or join the union, you're 4 years ahead of everybody else. You know what I mean? So, but if you started it at that 30, 40, $50,000 mark, now you're bumped up over those 4 years. So you're making more than what your buddies are with zero loans.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Yet we're the ones that get looked down upon. It's like,
yeah, yeah.
the math isn't mathing on the other side of
No,
things.
no. And I have a hard time being too hard on people that go to school. Like I went to school for engineering while I was working full time.
Now that is something you should go to school for. Like people that
Yeah,
are designing or building things,
yeah, yeah.
please go get a degree for that.
Well, even this is what I was actually going to get to is I felt like through my engineering schooling that you could learn that stuff on the job. That's how bad the system is right now. And every engineer I was talking to, I was going for electrical engineering specifically. Every engineer I was talking to, like about our advanced math that we were taking and stuff, which I actually happen to enjoy, but I asked them about it and they're like, I haven't touched any of that since college. And I'm like, well, why in the hell am I learning it then? Like, what a freaking waste of time. And it was weird to me because I liked it, but at the same time, why am I learning it if I'm not going to use it at all? And we were taking math classes with theoretical mathematicians. Like I'm going to school for engineering. Like, what the hell why do I need to do this for? But if you're going to school with a purpose, I think it's great. But if you're just going for like a general, like, yeah, I'm going for business. I mean, what a way to waste time and money and just get into a bunch of debt. So
Well, and the other thing is the worst case scenario. It's like, obviously nowadays with like community colleges or whatever, like get a part-time job working for somebody. You know what I mean? Like construction, electrical, plumbing, whatever you might be interested in. And you could still be trying to get a degree and then pick the lesser of two evils. You know, it's like, hey, I really like this or I'm really good at this. Let me stay here. Rather than just jumping in to a 4-year university with that same education that you would get at a community college. You know what I mean? But at least you're making money and figuring out exactly what you want to do. I love that you were talking about them saying that you're never going to use it. It's like, I remember when I was in whatever, algebra or trigonometry or whatever math I was in, besides the Pythagorean theorem, I've never used since. But they were like, oh, you can't use a calculator. I'm like, but out in the real world, we can use it. No, you won't have a calculator. And now we all have cell phones with calculators on. I'm like, I can do any calculation I need from the touch of my finger. But
well, that's the sad part is even the advanced mathematics, like you need to understand basically how it works, like for a lot of the engineering stuff, but they have programs that essentially you can plug all your numbers into and it'll calculate them for you. Like things that'll take you 20 minutes to write out and figure out, these you can just plug your stuff in and it'll do it on your computer. Now you have to know how it works so that you can say, oh yeah, that number doesn't look right. But other than that, like, yeah, it's crazy. They waste your time and it's turned into this entire enterprise that's just designed to keep people down. So it's crazy to me that people are still going and doing it. But like we've said, I think it's turning around. So
one quick last thing. You were talking about engineering school or whatever. I didn't go to college. I don't know how that all works. But I would say there are times that we get plans and I'm just like, this isn't going to work. So like, yes, you might be book smart. Yes, you might go to college and get these fancy degrees and know the math and everything like that. Go on a job site and like get real world experience. Just because it works on your computer and your program and CAD and all that other stuff doesn't mean it's going to work in real life. You know what I mean? So like, and then they get you were talking about comments earlier about how like getting fired up and people don't want to back down or whatever. That is every architect and engineer I've ever dealt with. No, we have to do this. I'm like, well, the ICC says this and code says this, or no, it's the this and that or whatever. And it's like, you copied and pasted from your last job. Like it still has the old address on it, dude. Like you didn't draw this for my job. Like, you know, and that's what's frustrating. It's like, anyways, sorry.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I find myself wanting to go do like structural engineering or something because it's the same thing. Like I see some of these things these engineers are doing. I'm like, this is absolutely ridiculous. Like you've never been out on a job ever, and it shows. Like, anyways, I just that whole that whole idea about how you can be all theory based and not have any like practical knowledge behind something is crazy to me when you're talking about engineering structures that people are going to live in. And most of the time they overdo it, and that's part of the issue. It's like this is way overdone. There's no way it needs to be like this. So they'll does it say you lost connection?
No, I'm here.
That's weird. Yeah. Anyways, they'll say it needs to be done this way, and it's like way over engineered. And obviously, people say over engineered all the time. But they're just trying to cover their ass, and they don't actually know what's necessary. So like, there's this whole disconnect between the engineers and the people out doing the work.
Yeah, like
crazy.
one last thing on that. So like, I'm all about over engineering to a certain extent, right? Like the whole, whatever, the quote saying like, build up to code. Like code is the bare minimum, right? Like that is the least you could do that the government will say, okay, we'll pass you. This is a safe structure. I'm fine going over it, but it's like, to what extent,
Yeah, exactly.
Like, so anyways.
Yeah. So how was that transition for you? We're going to kind of get to a different strand of this. How was the transition for you from doing like hardscape type stuff to doing interior? Like, I mean, you're doing a sauna right now. I mean, that's quite a bit different than doing hardscape type stuff. How was that for you guys and your team to kind of adjust? Because I know myself from building my own house and doing a lot of the different trades that, I mean, it's cool to do a bunch of different trades, but sometimes it gets tedious and because it's like not the thing that you do all the time, but it also can be fun. So I'm curious how that was for you guys.
So I'm my own worst enemy. So I would say is a good thing and a bad thing. I'm pretty average or above average at pretty much anything that I do. Only because that I'm inquisitive and I'm fortunate enough to know a lot of guys that are good at what they do. So I can reach out to them. Actually, I just did another post that the siding or whatever.
Yeah.
So like I understand the dynamics and the structure and how things are put together with electric, for plumbing, framing, whatever. So I understand the basics, right? It's just filling in those little parts. The issue that I have is, again, as you were just saying, I don't do a majority of what I do every day. Like you want me to build you a patio, I can build you a patio in a day or two, no questions asked. Like it's just mindless work to me. But like this type of stuff, I'm not proficient at because I can do it and I can figure it out, but it takes longer, it takes more time. So on this particular job, again, I don't know how long you've been following along, but the customer hired the electrician, the plumber, and the tile guys. I was in charge of everything else. Well, it started off with the plumber just being a complete and utter hack. Right when he opened, when we were talking about money and people flaunting it and really they don't have it, this guy walked in and I was explaining what we want to do and I was showing him the plans, and his exact quote to me was, I'm a third generation master plumber. I can do it all. And right there, I was just like, but can you? And from there, it just went downhill. The pump on the plans, he undersized that. The pipes, just everything about what he did was just wrong. So finally, we were just like, yep, you're done. But last winter, we did the same houses. We built him an office in the back and we did a kitchen for him. We had 2 or 3 electricians come through, and again, I want to blame the inspectors, honestly, which is scary because the people in that town are paying them to basically confirm that what the work they're getting done in their house is correct. I wanted to be like, obviously, like, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. And actually, I think I did a video on the plumbing. Like, he had nothing strapped. The plumbing he had no vent on the pump, the water line. I don't need to go on all tangent. Anyways, long story short, I'm a perfectionist, right? Mm-hmm. So it's pretty bad when some guy who's not proficient at things can do things better than a third generation master plumber. You know what I mean? So then we had the tile guys come in and it literally looked like the ocean. I'm like, I put a laser on it. It starts on one side, then comes back over on the other side, then back over on the other side. And it's frustrating when you're you can do the work, but like, again, the customer hired them. It's his sub, I guess, and they do a shitty job. And it's like, I take pride in what I do. And for them to come in and just kind of throw everything together and leave because they just want to get paid and get in, get out, and get to the next one. Like, that is why I'd much rather take forever and do everything myself, knowing that it's done properly the way I want it done, and the customer's ultimately happier at the end.
Do you find yourself coming across a lot of jobs where you're doing a lot of different things? I mean, I'll just keep referencing the sauna, like, but a lot of different trades that you end up taking on. Maybe
Yeah,
lately.
so it's mostly interior. I would do more trades. So, and that's the other problem is our guys are really good at doing decks now because they've worked with me for the last couple of years. But when it comes to like inside stuff, it's like a third language to them. So it's really just me doing it or them helping me or me kind of slowly showing them. But yeah, I would say at this particular house that we're working at right now, between last winter and this winter, I was a drywall guy, I was a flooring guy, I was an electrician, I was a plumber, the cabinet installer, roofer, siding guy. I mean, yeah, like, I was it all.
Yeah, that's just interesting. I mean, you have the tagline, the jack of all trades, master of none, but I think that, like,
But it's still better than a master of one, is the
yeah,
whole quote.
yeah, that is that actually that never gets added in, But at the same time, like, people use that as a derogatory term, but I mean, it is good at some point to have a lot of that different knowledge because, I mean, at the end of the day, it all ties in and it also gives you a better understanding of the whole project anyways. So even if you aren't super proficient, you still know a lot of things about the different trades, whereas your trade that you know better, you know how you affect them so that you can kind of do a better job for them, or vice versa, or however it is, you get a better understanding of the whole process. So at some point, it's good to learn these different trades. It's interesting to see people take on like a bunch of different jobs, a bunch of different types of jobs, and do them even though they're not super proficient. Because I think a lot of people would be like, man, I don't trust myself enough to take that on.
Well, the other thing is, and I'm not knocking other trades or licensed guys or anything like that. My biggest pet peeve is, like, I just want to get the job done, right? I want to get the job done, make the customer happy. When I've been on jobs that, like, I'm just going to make something up right now. I can't think on the top of my head, but like, let's say a wire's running this way and like whatever, 2x4's in the way. Like, oh no, the framer's got to come in and move that 2x4 because we got to get the wire through, whatever. Well, I'm going to leave. You let me know when the framer comes. It's like, dude, I'll just do it right now. No. It's like, I just want to get it done. But again, nowadays, everyone wants to sue. Everyone doesn't want to be held
Yeah,
liable.
yeah,
So it's just like,
yeah. Nobody wants to touch other people's work. Like
to a
that's
certain extent, I get that, right?
yeah,
But like, at the end of the day, it's like, obviously you're not going to replumb the whole house or rewire the whole house, but like, whatever the case may be, just do what needs to be done and get your job done. I just feel like everyone's looking for an excuse. But then there's a good buddy of mine, Josh.
yeah, yeah. I was gonna mention Josh of all trades.
Yeah,
Is that what you're
Josh of
talking
all
about?
trades.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna mention him.
My man, he does it all.
Yeah, he does.
And he's
He
got, I
does.
mean, granted, he's got good guys with him, but like,
Yeah,
what?
yeah,
And I DM him or we text and FaceTime because I've called him sometimes about the shower and the tile or whatever because he mostly does bathrooms and kitchen stuff like that. So I was FaceTiming him. And yeah, like, he'll be doing a deck one day, he'll be doing drywall the next, then he's doing a high-rise kitchen the next. I'm like,
yeah,
dude, like,
yeah,
and then I'm like, your garage hasn't been touched in 2 years. Like, he's still got studs. I'm like, get insulation, get some plywood or some drywall up at your house. Every Saturday at like 9 o'clock at night, he's in a crawl space fixing a leaking pipe. I'm like,
yeah,
dude, go home. What are
yeah,
you doing?
yeah. And that's funny considering you were just saying you work crazy hours. He's freaking busy. He is
Yeah.
always
So
doing something.
him and I, again, we're personal friends, I would consider that. But
Yeah.
I was texting him, like, I've had some ups and downs in my life, which everybody has. But I call it a heart attack. It was AFib. Anyways, I was driving and I couldn't see, and I got rushed to the hospital. I was in the hospital for like a week because of my heart, and that's why I stopped drinking the monsters. But anyways, I was like, it took some life events before that, and then that was like my realization. Like, at that point, I stopped working weekends. I mean, occasionally, like if I have to work a Saturday, I will. But even when I say I'm not working, I'm still doing office work. But I'm not doing manual labor on like a Saturday or Sunday. I used to, like, I have screenshots of working till 9, 10 o'clock at night with lights on. Like, I not stopped all of that. So like, I have significantly cut back. And anyways, the reason I'm going this whole tangent, he posted a guy who was doing transmissions, and he looked out the window, and it was a dad building a snowman with his son. You remember that? Yeah.
Yeah, I
So,
saw that. Yeah.
and I DM'd, texted him or DM'd him or whatever, and I was like, dude, I literally was just telling you this like 2, 3 days ago. And he was like, I know, I really got to slow it down. Cause like his daughters are young. Well, his kids are young, right? So like these are the times when daddy's not around. And again, I know he takes off Sunday and they usually go to the beach, but like, I'm like, you need to like stop working. Either hire people, raise your prices, and stop working. I was like, even if you raise your prices 100%, 50%, let's say 100%, you double your prices, right? You lose half of your customers, you're still making the same amount of money for doing half the work.
Yeah.
If you're that busy, you either need to raise your prices or do something. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Well, he's making good money. He's got a brand new truck. He's one of those guys that shows up on the job and
Did you
you
see
can't
it
trust. Yeah,
driving?
yeah, can't trust him because he's got a new truck.
It's true though. You see these guys with the lifted trucks and the wraps around. Like my truck
Yeah,
is the most plain Jane basic model. Like I have nothing fancy. The only thing I required was the pleather and
yeah,
washout floor or whatever. That was it. Other than that, like they come with the lifted tire. You can hear them coming down the road from a mile
yeah,
away. But yeah, they go the lifted trucks and the stacks and the
yeah.
diesels and this and that. And I'm just like, no. Give me a guy with like a Honda Civic, or give me a guy with like an out of state tag with a white van. I know that guy's going to get the job done.
That was pretty funny. I've texted him about his truck before because I was surprised he still driving that old '05 that he had or whatever. But yeah, when I saw that he got a new truck, I thought you were gonna reach out to him because I'm pretty sure I saw that you, or was it that was did you post him and tag it
Yeah,
in your story, and that was how that happened? I saw that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, he
Yeah.
posted it, I think, the day before because he finally got his truck back, and
Yeah.
then he had the new one parked next to it. He's like, "Yeah, I think we're gonna get it lettered up or whatever." I'm like, I got something just for you, Josh.
Man, I think I saw the other day you posted about oh one of the videos when you first were starting on social media.
On my door video.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And that was getting me thinking. So you've only been doing it for a couple years, right?
Correct.
Social media.
Well, the construction part of things, yeah.
Yeah. What got you started wanting to post? Since you said you don't promote your business or anything, and what made you want to start doing the working with Matt strain of things?
Well, originally, all my accounts were my name. And then, as we talked about before we started recording, I got very disturbing things, and I was like, all right, that's it. But no, so basically, yeah, it was really just to promote our new venture. Like my first couple of videos were like time lapses, and my brother used to be like, dude, like it's snooze fest. Like add some music or talk a little bit. And then I started talking, and he's like, you talk like this. You're so monotone. I'm like, that's me, dude. Like, I'm not gonna be like, yeah, I go, hey guys, this is what we're building. Like, I'm not that type of guy. I'm gonna be me, right? If I'm monotone, then if you don't like it, unfollow or swipe. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna be me. So I started doing like little whatever how-tos, and then I finally like really enjoyed it or whatever. And one day I bought a 16 trailer, and the next couple of months I went and bought every single Milwaukee tool known to man and said this is some BS because I could never find any of them, and they were all piled in the corners and
Yeah.
pack outs or whatever. And I said, all right, I'm taking a week off of work, and I'm gonna ball out in this trailer. That's exactly what I did.
Yeah. I saw somebody on that post about all of your Milwaukee stuff posting about how you're the type of guy that doesn't actually do the work, and you only just sit there and organize your tools or something like that. There's a bunch of those comments in there. Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. I'm like, some people just like to have organized tools, okay?
Well, so there is some truth to that. So like obviously Instagram is what I call a highlight reel. I'm not on a job all day long, right? Like I'm just not. I can't. I have too many other things to be doing. So yes, a vast majority of the time I pull up to a job, check on my guys, do a quick video, leave, and go do the rest of my job. And then I get comments all the time like, your tools are too clean and your bags are not even worn in and this, that, the other. I'm like, because I have other things to do. Like anyone who's watching this or is going to listen to this, I have one piece of advice. It is physically impossible to work a company and run a company simultaneously. If you want to be a one-man show or a two-man show, which nothing's wrong with that. And that's a whole nother topic we could talk about.
Yeah.
That everybody wants to expand. Everybody wants to be this big multi-million-dollar company.
But do they really? That's the
Exactly. That they don't, and they have no
Exactly.
idea. They just want to drive around in a truck and be a supervisor. It is hell.
Well, I think people want to, because especially nowadays with social media, they're almost being told you have to. But that's the problem. It's like a lot of people just like doing the work and they like being the business owner. You know what I mean? They like to do it. They like to have a small operation. Quit making everybody feel like they have to scale and grow and get employees and sell their business. Like it's
Correct.
anyways.
Yeah. Well, feel free to DM me and I'll give you years and years of reasons not to. But anyways, so yeah, like you cannot run and work a company simultaneously because something's going to give, right? Either the work is going to give and your customers aren't going to be happy. And especially nowadays with internet and reviews and everything, they will be public and you'll start getting a reputation. And once you get a reputation, you will never recover. So, or you work a company or you run a company and you delegate, which is the second hardest thing to do because, again, someone who's a perfectionist is very, very difficult to trust other people to do anything. Back to a whole nother point of scaling, why it is a terrible idea for 80% of people because it's just never going to work and they're just going to get further and further into debt and fall harder and harder on their family.
Yes, exactly. No, I agree 100%. There's a lot of people that just, they don't want to, but they feel like they need to, and they don't, some people just like to do the work. And I think that's most people. They just like to do the work and they make a little extra money running the business and, everything's all good.
Well, do we have 2 more minutes?
Yeah.
All right. So just to, again, new people getting into the line of work in business, whatever, that like people don't understand. Yeah. Hold on. Give me 1 second. How do I rephrase this?
Yes.
Yeah. Like the workforce nowadays is, as I think I saw Jesse's post maybe, that the workforce is dwindling because the guys are retiring, right? So like everybody wants to scale their business. Everybody wants to grow their business, but you need people to fill those spots, right? Like you could be the best salesman in the world. You could have work booked out, right? But unless you have the people to do the job, you're just going to get pissed off customers that are going to be like, when are you starting? Why haven't you been here for a week? So on and so forth, right? And I think another massive mistake, which personally I did, I am not an office person. I am horrific at it. I don't have the attention span. I don't have the speed, the know-how, any of that, right? But back to the delegating, like most contractors are not, you there? It says reconnecting. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Most contractors are not business people. They are workers, right? But then you get good at something, you want to go out on business on your own, that's fine. But like a vast majority of guys that are good at what they do are not good at the office stuff. You know what I mean? So something usually goes. And if it's not getting back to customers, not billing on time, not advertising, you know what I mean? Then there's going to be lulls that you now have this big company and employees that you need to continue to pay and provide for their families that need your income, and you don't have the money to pay them, or you don't have the jobs to keep them busy. You know what I mean? So like, again, we could talk hours about this.
Yeah, no joke. It's really easy to be, actually I don't know if I should say easy, but it's a lot easier to be running like a two-man deal, running a little business. But once you start getting employees and stuff, I mean, it's a huge thing that really, if you don't have years and years and years of reputation behind you, it's a constant grind just to be getting work and doing the billing and checking on jobs and bidding jobs and stuff. Like that's a full-time job. So just in itself to be running a company that can even support that many guys. So just because a lot of people will get into business and they might have quite a few jobs lined up and then they get some employees, doesn't mean that you can keep doing that forever. And it also doesn't mean it's going to be easy forever either. So it's kind of a slippery slope that a lot of people don't get. But that's why a lot of people don't last in business longer than, 5 years or something. It's like
Yeah, I mean, it's like
it's hard.
80% between
Yeah.
3 and 5 years.
Yeah, it's hard. It's a lot of work. And a lot of people don't have the experience with it. Now, that's not to say that you shouldn't try, because maybe you want to try it and see if you like it or not. But a lot of people are maybe even being told that they should, or that they would like it, or that's what you do, and just kind of have that idea without really thinking through how much work it actually is, and the fact that you're going to be working constantly, like all the time. You're never going to be off, and you're going to be getting phone calls all the time. I mean, all of that stuff is stuff to consider when doing that. I know my dad was telling me that there were a lot of times he was wishing that or thinking he'd have just been better off staying working for his uncles instead of starting his own business. And he's been, in business for 25 years now or something, but it's just like, it's just how it is. It's a lot of work and it's always something. And a lot of people don't get it.
Well, it's not that it ever gets easy,
Yeah.
but
You
it's
just,
funny. It's funny how the easiest whatever time is later, right? It's like when you're first starting out, you have no money, you have no employees, you have no capital, you have no credit, you have no knowledge, right? So
you
it's
have no
like you're
connections.
trying,
Yeah.
yeah, you're literally trying to start something from scratch with none of those most important parts: money, employees, knowledge. You learn that and grow that as you go. But again, most times within 3, 5 years, it's all gone, right? It's like once you get past that point, then it gets, again, it doesn't necessarily get easier, but it's
Yeah.
just, you're not worried about the little things anymore. It's more money, more problems. It's just, you're more macro rather than micro.
I've always found it interesting that most businesses don't last longer than 5 years, because most of the time it's just people quitting and giving up. But I feel like 5 years is probably the amount of time you would need to really build your reputation and awareness behind what you do, so that you have a good connection, a bunch of good connections and people that will refer you and stuff, like a good network. I feel like it would take 5 years to build that to the point where it would be useful. People don't ever get to that point, and most of the time it's because they just quit because it's too hard in that early stage. So not that it would get easier at that point, but yeah, like you said, you put in the repetitions, and at some point you can handle it a little bit better and take
Yeah.
it as
Well,
it
the other
comes.
thing is back to Josh, it's like, I can't tell you how many landscape companies I've seen come and go because they go out, whether they get a loan, they mortgage their house, whatever the case may be. But it's like they go out and they buy top of the line trucks, top of the line trailers, top of the line equipment, this, that, the other. And it's like, dude, what are you doing? Like, you just incurred $500,000 to cut a $40 lawn. You know what I mean? And it's like, when I first started, at first it was like a push mower, then it was like a 36, and then it was putting the 36 in the back of my whatever 92 F-150. And then it was, you know what I mean? Like, it takes time and you progressively grow, like I
Yeah.
literally Yeah, it was a 92 F-150, then a 2000 250, then I got a couple 350s, then finally I got a 550, then I got a Ranger, and now I mean, again, I still have all those trucks. They're
Yeah.
the 7.3 diesels. Those bad boys got like over
Oh yeah.
350,000 miles on them.
Heck yeah.
They ain't going nowhere.
Nope.
But now I have whatever 2019 350. But like it's been 20 years before I
Yeah.
bought that.
Yeah.
You
You
know what I mean?
accumulate it over time. Over the time throughout the business, you make some money here, you save it. You have a little extra money, go invest in a little bit nicer truck. You don't just go and drop all the money as soon as you start making it on stuff, which is really what a lot of guys do. They seriously do that. It's crazy. So
Again, I'm just talking about my line of work. I'm sure concrete guys do the same thing and whatever.
yeah.
All the other trades do.
Yeah, they do. They do. They go and invest a bunch of money in trucks and trailers and tractors and I mean, at some point you need the stuff, but also you don't need it right away. You can get by with not that many pieces of equipment and not that many things. So, uh, I don't know. Anyways, think we I think we're probably coming up on about time, but we could probably go on forever. So I guess maybe we'll have to do another one sometime. So
Sounds good.
what, we'll close off with one question. What's been your favorite part about working in the trades?
You want a serious answer or a joking answer?
Both. I don't know.
Because I think they coincide. I think they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Driving by with a family member and saying, I built.
Exactly.
But kidding aside, no, I would say, like, I'll just use the sauna because I know you're familiar with that. Like,
Yep.
it literally was a pile of dirt, and now it's like a finished, livable space, which is just like, this is how it happened. You know what I mean?
And
That,
those tools that are too clean, you know, they made it happen.
yeah. Um, I would, like, kidding aside, I guess selfishly, maybe, like, it makes me feel good. It gives me that dopamine rush. Like, I literally turned a pile of wood into this. And I think that is something that we can be proud of. Like, a doctor might say, I helped this cancer patient survive, or a lawyer might say, I got this guy, he was found guilty, but he was actually innocent. You know what I mean? Everybody's got their thing or their shit, but like, I don't know. I think it's pretty cool to turn a pile of something into something somebody will use for years to come.
Like it. Awesome. Well, Matt, thanks for coming on. We'll be in touch and we'll have to do this again. So appreciate it.
Sounds good.